What if the life you thought you wanted, career, success, social status, financial security, was actually the very thing that pulled you under? Today's guest traded in pints for purpose, and the results will make you rethink everything you know about success, health, and happiness.
Welcome to the Sober Life Rocks podcast. You may have made the decision not to drink alcohol, or at the very least, not at work-related events. Whether you've never been a drinker, are in recovery, or made a health-related decision, we see you, and you are not alone. In today's world, networking, socializing, and celebrations often happen over drinks, and the struggle can be real. Through this podcast, we're changing that narrative. We're here to create a community where individuals like you, who choose not to drink or drink less, can find camaraderie, support, and practical advice.
Before we dive in, I want to share something exciting. One of the most powerful things about the sober space right now is how much we can learn from each other and how many opportunities there are to create new collaborations. That's exactly what Amplify Sober Voices is about. It's a one-day in-person event happening January 15th, 2026 in Orlando, bringing together speakers and writers, podcasters and coaches and creators who want to take their sober story and turn it into impact. Imagine a room full of people who get it, all sharing ideas, sparking conversations, and building partnerships that will shape the future of this movement. And today's guest is one of our featured speakers. If you've been looking for the right place to connect and grow, this is it. Join us at amplifysobervoices.com. I would love to see you there. Now, my guess is that many of you already know Andy Ramage. He's like a founding powerhouse in the sober space. But for those of you who don't, Andy is a former professional footballer, that's soccer player to us in the US, turned broker who rose to the top of his industry, only to realize that the lifestyle that came with it was slowly draining his soul. A love for well-being and peak performance led Andy to stop drinking alcohol despite massive social and professional pressure to do otherwise. From this experience, he realized that there were probably millions of others desperate for a break from alcohol who could not overcome this pressure. And so with books and podcasts and coaching, Andy has sparked a movement that's inspired thousands around the world. We'll talk about his journey, his impact, and how he continues to amplify his sober voice. Andy, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation and for our incredible conference in January next year, which would be so cool.
I'm so excited for that too. So, Andy, one of the things I love to kind of just dig into a little bit, I'm always curious, was where did alcohol show up for you as a child? Like, what was it like in your family life or, growing up? Where was that?
Yeah, so I grew up in the East End of London. I think alcohol was always around in our family, like most families, in truth, nothing excessive. We didn't have any problematic drinking in the immediate family, i.e. my mum, my dad. It was more for celebration, but you always aspire to be like your parents, don't you? So it was always available in the house. And I remember from really young ages, 12, 13, really starting to want to feel grown up. To feel grown up, to me at 13 meant drinking like the other adults. And sometimes that took place, in conscious awareness of parents and whatnot that might give you a little sip of a beer. And other times it was very much covert in the sense that I might steal a can or two or whatever it might be from the parents.
Which made it seem even more appealing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So from the age, alcohol definitely showed up in my life from the age of around 13. And then pretty consistently up until, my late 30s.
Yep. So talk to me about kind of that journey of where alcohol featured as you were coming into adulthood.
Yeah, for me, I think it was that classic, it took away that emotional pain of feeling a bit awkward, a bit socially anxious. I'm quite introverted by nature. My social batteries drained really quickly. I know all these things now in retrospect as I'm a mature adult, but I didn't at the time. So the fact that I could take this drink because everyone was experimenting with it, and all of a sudden that social anxiety went away. And for me, I was able to talk to girls. That was a big win, right? As a young boy, like the ability to talk to girls, and suddenly, so it was like this elixir. So clearly, how we make habits inside our brain, there was that emotional pain, the trigger. I play the routine, which was to drink alcohol. And actually, I felt good. And in my instance, the reward was I was able to talk to girls. So you can imagine, as a 13-year-old boy, that is an absolutely rocket-fueled habit that's going to form in my brain, because my brain is going to go, that ticks all our evolutionary boxes right there. Let's form that into a habit. So I think that was the real, and I'm sure that's the case for so many people, that habit then became ingrained. It was like, if I need to socialize, well, I'm going to try and get my hands on some alcohol, because that's what you do, even at a subconscious level almost, is my point, rather than it being a conscious thing.
Yeah. I mean, brain studies show now, like, our amygdala is a survival part of our brain. And once it makes that neural pathway, knowing that that's what, it's trying to do is protect you and then also further you, that neural pathway is formed, and it is subconscious. It just knows, like, I feel anxious, I need the booze. I want to meet a girl, I need the booze, like all the things.
Yeah. And you can think about that at such a young age, isn't it? 13. When I look back at that now, I think, what was but it was pretty much accepted, is the truth of it. No one really knew what we now know, really, in many ways. So, but my young developing brain, like you say, to get hit with that really powerful drug, which it is, to tick those really powerful evolutionary boxes, survival and potentially getting your genes into the next generation, it's no wonder that, like, my brain was like, let's just do more of that, whenever you can.
So, okay, you went to, did you go to college?
No. So I left school at 16 to go and play professional sport. So when you in the UK, if you want to be a professional footballer, you leave school early. So I left school early at 16 to pursue that dream, which I absolutely loved, and still is the greatest thing that I've done to date in my life.
And so it seems to me like a professional athlete wouldn't be able to drink at the rate that, like, I certainly did at those ages.
Yes and no. I mean, I must admit, whilst my foray into alcohol was in, age 13, by the time I was heading towards 16 and serious about football, I was drinking a lot less. I mean, again, it was quite rare, but if I was out socially, I was definitely going to drink, but I would be out a lot less socially. So those groups of friends that I would have been hanging around with and over the park, all of that stopped, because now I was focused on becoming a professional athlete. But equally, on a Saturday after the game, we all went out, and of course I would have been drinking in those moments. So whilst I drank a lot less through that whole period, alcohol was still quite prevalent, in the sense, for the same reasons, right? It showed up whenever there was something that was pretty social. I just did less socializing as such.
So when did it start to turn for you?
Yeah, so for me, really, if I fast forward, I got injured when I was about 20, so my football career came to an end. Traveled all around the world. Then it was party time, to be fair, because I didn't have the baggage of having to prepare for games and then play. So and one thing I'll always say is I had a bloody great time. I'm not going to say that I didn't. I had a brilliant time.
For sure.
It'd be unfair for me to say that I didn't have a great time. But then I arrived back in the UK around 28, so I was still quite mature at that stage, and stumbled into the world of broking. So commodities broking, oil broking in particular. My brother was a big trader, and he happened to basically get me a job, essentially. And that was, again, a whole different level up, because part of the job was to socialize. And I was really good at it, because I'd spent the best part of the last 8 years doing that with alcohol. So that for me was, a kid in a candy shop. Then I got the magic card. So call it a magic card. It's a credit card that you got given by the company, but you could just spend as much as you like with it. Go to bars, go to the best restaurants in London, just put this a magic card behind the bar, and it pays for everything. So I had a really good time for a few years, and was, exceptional in that job. I loved it. It was the closest thing I'd ever found to sport, and really rose up through the ranks really quickly, built a big business really quickly. So it wasn't until about 8 years later that the fun just dried up a bit. And what was going on for me there was that the hangovers were just starting to hang around for days on end. Whereas before in my early 20s, they seemed to just, bounce off me. Anxiety started to creep into my life. I'd never experienced that before. Panic attacks, low mood, Weight started to go on me. I hadn't exercised for the best part of 10 years. I was actually just really unhealthy. And I'd say I was mildly unhappy, unfulfilled, overweight, lacking direction, meaning, purpose. And my mental health was really starting to suffer. Right at the moment, I should have been blissfully happy, because at that moment, I'd achieved monetary success, for want of a better word, was earning more than enough income to have lovely things and houses and cars and all those things. So when I should have been blissfully happy, I was feeling the opposite. And that was an epiphany wake up for me of, oh, something's not quite right here. So there's no rock bottom in my story. I want to be really clear about that. I was an average middle lane drinker. Was I drinking too much? Absolutely. But who is the truth of it? Go into most professions and everyone's drinking far too much or more than they should be.
And I know, because my job at a certain point was to literally wine and dine my potential clients as well. And I felt at the time that it was part of the success formula.
Yeah. And this is the story that we tell ourselves. And I told myself that I was successful because I was a larger than life entertainer and people loved to be with me because I was always fun, and my fun always involved alcohol.
Yeah.
It never came with anything. I didn't know how to do it without alcohol. So I'd wrapped up my identity in it. I'd wrapped my career into it, the money that I earned, looking after my family, my children. So I think so many people do that to challenge that was like heresy in my own mind. It was like, well, hold on, is this a threat to everything you've achieved by taking a break from alcohol, which is completely nuts. Because on the one hand, I knew it wasn't serving me, but on the other, I was really scared to take it away. And I had all those classic fears. Would I lose business? Would clients not want to go out with me? My boss at the time, big mentor, said to me, exact words, if you consider not drinking, because I've just started to take a break at one point, you're finished. No one will want to do business with a broker that doesn't drink.
Wow.
Mega social pressure. And my big fear, how the hell was I going to dance at weddings? Like, how's that going to happen? Sober. I'm not even sure ginger people, middle-aged men are allowed to dance at weddings. But anyway, all those fears rolling around in my mind. And like, when you actually think about that is crazy, isn't it? And I guarantee it, and that's why I love the work that you're doing, and hopefully the work that I'm doing. We're waking people up all the time. There's so many people stuck in that loop right now that are thinking, I want to get out. I want to do something different, but I can't. And hopefully, we're living proof that on the fun side of the island is like where all the optimal performance games are. And as it transpired for me, the best thing I ever did for my career was stop drinking.
Well, given that your boss said you're done, like, what happened?
So at first I had to stop in stealth because I just couldn't tell clients I wasn't drinking. It wasn't an acceptable reason. I mean, I'm going back, almost 12 years now, right? This is before alcohol-free alternatives were even a thing. So I'd pretend to drink. I found one or two bars that did one type of alcohol-free drink that I'd often visit just to build up some momentum. I played around with it quite a lot. Get to 2 weeks, fall off, 3 weeks, fall off, get my rubber arm twisted by clients or friends or family members. But I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I could feel momentum building to such a point that I got to about 28 days, 4 weeks. And I felt bloody amazing, genuinely amazing, like I hadn't felt in years. Just clarity of mind, fresh, well-rested, energetic, smile was coming back. The world felt more technicolored, excited about my future in my career, to such a point I thought, I think I'm just going to keep going with this thing. And that was around the time that the boss came out the woodwork and said, well, look, if you continue with this, you're finished, mate. But I just thought, no, I'm going to stick with this. And then what happened was wonderful, because it transpires that clients like to do business with people that are always on the ball, Monday to Friday. And when I reflected on my career, I was like so many other business professionals. I was like a hero on a Monday and a Tuesday, and then maybe go out on a Wednesday, and then I'd be a bit of a 5 out of 10, and then we'd go out Thursday night, and Thursday would be a bit of a write-off, and Friday would be like a 1 out of 10 if I was lucky. And it transpires clients quite like to work with 8s out of 10 every day. And that's what I was. I was 8 or 9 out of 10 every single day, banging the drum, full power, full energy. So my relationship started to blossom. I then had to think of other ways to connect with people rather than just going to the pub. The pub's easy, right? Everyone does that. It was like, well, let's go to a boot camp. This is 12 years ago, right? Again, people are like, what? What do you mean go to a boot camp? Well, let's go to a boot camp. Let's do something a bit different. Let's go surfing. I take my clients away surfing. Let's go yoga. People are like, no, you're never going to get like these guys in the yoga studio. I was like, well, watch me. And off we went to yoga, and it transpires that clients sort of enjoyed someone that was making the effort to do something different. So I started to nurture different relationships. I then started to notice clients that didn't really drink. Who would have thought that was such a thing? In my mind, everyone drank and everyone was getting plastered all of the time. And then you remove alcohol and realize, oh, I think that was just me and a few others. And actually, a lot of the clients were sitting there drinking one glass of wine, and we'd have tucked into a bottle thinking we'd been all these great entertainers. So then you see through that and realize actually a lot of my real clients barely drink either. Some of them have stopped drinking. So it turned out to be miraculous for my career in the sense that I grew a brokerage that, again, was told by one of the top people would never work if you didn't drink. I grew it 7 times bigger in half the time of the previous broking business I grew when I was drinking. And that proof is like in the numbers. You can't argue with them.
That is amazing. Okay, so now bring me to the beginnings of what you started when you first decided to actually be public about you were not drinking. Like, what did that look like? What did that decision look like? And how did you start speaking about the fact that you weren't drinking?
That's a really interesting question. It sort of organically happened for me. I lost a lot of weight. So I lost about 42 pounds quite quickly. I'd say over that first 90 days. So I also changed my diet. I went from classic, I just eat anything.
Burgers and
just whatever. It didn't matter, right? So I think because I was an athlete, I just always assumed I could just eat what I wanted. It didn't matter. So I went fully plant-based at that point. So you can imagine my clients' shock. I'd take them out to lunch or dinner or whatever it might be, and literally their jaw would hit the table when they figured out I wasn't drinking. And then, of course, the waiter would come around and any dietary requirements. And the only word I had to describe it then was vegan, right? Because it's before plant-based was the thing. So then my clients would be like, are you having a laugh? You're not drinking, and now you're one of those like vegans. So yeah, it sort of came out relatively quickly because people were almost shocked at how I looked. I mean, I looked so different so quickly. Like I looked so much healthier. The weight had fallen off me. So anyone that I'd seen that I hadn't seen for a few weeks were like, whoa, like what have you done? Like you look totally different. You look really well. So it made it much easier almost coming out the alcohol closet because there was this really nice physical win that people could see. I physically looked so much healthier and that glow was back. So it just started to happen quite organically. And that momentum built. I started to inspire other people around me. And one of them ended up being the co-founder in one of the original movements that I started because about 6 months in, I bumped into him. He had that same, like, what have you done? What are you doing? This looks incredible. Like, what is it? And I explained, I just stopped drinking. The business is booming. And you could sort of see the mind cogitating, thinking, what? How has that happened? And then other people started to follow suit. And that built a bit of momentum around me reflecting and thinking, wouldn't it be lovely to share some of this? And before I get to that, what had happened that started the whole journey, about 13, 14 years ago, I read Awaken the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins. And in that book, he spoke about a guy called John Grinder, who was the co-founder of NLP, which is a coaching methodology, who trained Robbins. And when I was having that reflective moment about my life, I went and trained with Grinder. I didn't know what the training was, but it happened to be an executive coach training course. I had no intention of ever being a coach, but I'd done that course. I loved it, lit up my mind. Fast forward a couple of years, I have this alcohol-free adventure. And I thought, I wonder, could I bring the two things together now, right? And give back and maybe inspire a few people and bring all of that coaching skills that have been sort of rumbling along in the background and actually do something with that. And then that was the spark of the first sort of movement and book that I put out into the world, and I haven't really looked back since.
Well, tell me about that first venture. Because a lot of people listening, I think, want to do something, and it's hard to just say, just try, but like, tell me the story of kind of what that looked like so that people might be inspired by that.
Yeah, well, what happened, I decided to buy one of the old school Macs, and I just started to write a personal journal, private journal for me. And my daughter hopped on my knee at one point and said, "What are you doing, Dad?" And I said, "I'm writing a book." And she looked at me, I mean, she must have been about 6 at the time, with these eyes. It was like just so incredibly impressed for about 2 seconds. And then she like popped off my knee like kids do. And I remember thinking, I was just playing a game at the time. I thought, who says I can't write a book? Maybe I'll write a book. So I started writing a book. And literally within the space of about a week, I'd wrote about 10,000 words. All it was, 10,000 words. And I thought, oh, this would be cool to share this. You know, I had no idea how long a real book was. It was only 10,000 words. And someone said, you should share it with this book agent, really well-respected book agent. They'll look at it. If it's any good, they'll try and align you with one of the big, publishers and maybe get a book deal, and then you can help people that way. And I was like, excellent. So I sent off this book. Quite quickly, the lady came back and said, "Wow, Andy, I've read your book, and I have to say, it's absolutely shite. No one's going to want to read a book about stopping drinking. What is this absolute garbage?" Which was just wonderful. And it genuinely, it still makes me laugh, and it made me laugh at the time. And it was one of those lovely pivotal moments of, oh, shall I just bin this and forget about this forever? And I'm actually a bit embarrassed. Or actually, I genuinely laughed through it and thought, that's just so ridiculous. If it helps one person, do you know what I mean? If one person reads my little ebook, I'll be absolutely thrilled. So I put it out onto the internet. You could, and literally, and this is when I'm talking to people listening, how simple this is. And people overthink these things all the time. It was a Word document saved as a PDF. I mean, it couldn't be more basic than that. That was my ebook. That was it. With a basic web page, and you just press the button, you put your email address in, you got the book, which was a PDF. That's where it all began. And really quickly, loads of people started to download it. It went all over the world. I was getting all these amazing letters of thanks and praise, because the style of the ebook was, there's nothing to give up here. You're gaining a massive advantage in every domain of your life. This is the best thing you could ever do for your performance, your health, your family, your career, your happiness. And it was a real nice shift on the traditional messaging around alcohol, which was always rock bottom, doom and gloom. And then, Phoenix from the flames, or we're sort of missing out on something for the rest of our life. But you know what? We've got this thing and we've got to wear that forever. My messaging was completely different, because that wasn't my story. It was like, actually, this is the best thing you'll ever do for every domain of your life. And that led then to Pan Macmillan, one of the biggest publishers in the world, getting wind of it and knocking on the door and saying, actually, let's turn this into one of those real books. And I was like, but I can't spell. And someone said it's rubbish. And they went, don't worry about that. We'll help you with that. That's what we do. And we wrote that first book, and that started a movement called One You Know Beer, which I'm really proud of. I stepped down. I left One You Know Beer in 2019 just to start new initiatives. I started an initiative called Dry with an extra Y, which is an app, online community training platforms that kickstarted some of the biggest podcasts in the world. Rich Roll podcast, Wrong and Chatterjee podcast. I've got a documentary coming out. Like, these things have just snowballed from that one bit of courage just to do something. Do you know, it's like, if I can help one person, and if I've got that advice for anyone listening, if what you do helps one person, what a gift that is, by the way. And it won't ever just help one person. It will always help a hell of a lot more. And it doesn't need to be bazillions. It needs to be one. If you can help one person through your courage to share something, be it on social media, start a podcast, write a little ebook, and download it as a PDF, what a win. And that lit me up. So I got the greatest joy and buzz out of knowing that I was helping other humans. And having spent 10 years researching and reading around meaning and purpose, I think that's where it lives, in service of others. And I feel so grateful. I totally stumbled into it. It was a total fluke. There was no skill behind it. I just sort of followed that adventure, and why I'm very grateful to alcohol and the adventure that getting rid of it has led me.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack there, but one of the things in particular, I know for me, I've struggled most of my life with fear-based decisions. And I grew up in a household where my mother was an alcoholic, and also had not had her dreams come true as a child or as an adult, and so wanted to relive those through me. And so anytime I didn't do something, I failed her. And my worth was only from accomplishments. So when I put something out into the world and even a whisper of negativity comes my way, I really have to battle through those voices. And so when you say that you got this like negative response from an agent and you just laughed your way into doing something forward with it, like talk to me about that mindset. Like how can somebody like me rewrite the script to take those, because everybody gets blowback, especially in today's world, right? With social media, like we all get blowback. So how do we walk through those boo voices and keep
Yeah,
moving forward?
this goes back to Stoic wisdom, and this is what I train all our coaches in, and it's the bedrock of my coaching. It's all about beliefs. And Epictetus said 2,000 years ago, great Stoic philosopher, it's not events that shape our lives, but our beliefs about them. It's not events that shape our lives, but our beliefs about them. So by the time I put that book out into the world, I probably had about 4 years of really drilling this mindset, because it was allowing me to achieve, huge success in my business as well, because I just figured it out that actually you can't control the events that are happening to you, but you can control what you believe about those events. And if you take control of the beliefs, you feel differently, leads to different actions. It's really quite simple. It takes training. I'd had 4 years of training. So when I got that rebuttal, I had an option, right? I could choose to believe in that moment, I'm rubbish, I'm no good, I can't spell, this book agent's right, I give up, right? The emotions I would have felt would have been complete despondence, shame, embarrassment, actions, I give up, right? Press delete, never sees the light of day. Or I could choose to believe it's just an opinion. It's one person's opinion, and there's 9 billion people in the world. Just because one person doesn't like this thing doesn't mean that someone else might not like that thing. And I chose to believe that if this book helps one person, then it'll be worth it, and that helped me get over myself and laugh it off to such a degree that I was able then to feel completely differently about it, feel like almost the comical side of it. And that led to actions of me actually then finishing it, downloading as a PDF and putting it out into the world. So yeah, that one mind hack, which is the great mind hack in truth, which is that Stoic wisdom basically has flowed through all psychotherapy, sports science. I mean, you look at all the great big thinkers and movers and shakers in the world, they normally sit in and around that concept. If it's not events that shape your life, it's your beliefs about them.
And I think too that, excuse me, I think too that even just in social settings, I mean, I know people who want to, who are secretly sober. Like I was secretly sober for 18 and a half years, and want to just be open about it. And the fear around what are people going to think about me?
Yeah.
And part of your story too talked about like, it really didn't matter to you because you thought differently about you.
So true. And here's another great truth. We can't read other people's minds. It's really binary and basic, isn't it? But we love to think we can. So I'm coaching all the time, and people will say to me, oh no, well, I can't do that because this is what they will think. And my response to that is, how do you know? And with genuine curiosity, can you read their mind? No, you can't. So actually, when you unpick those things, you realize actually the biggest barrier to anything we want to achieve in life is always us. That's why I love coaching, because everything you need is in the room. Because the external obstacles, they're rarely the thing that gets in the way. The thing that gets in the way is in the room, which invariably is the person sitting across from me. So if anything's in the future, it's made up. You can't read minds as much as we like to. So I think it's really that learning and through training as a coach really helped me train my own mind. And you catch yourself out. All that BS inside your mind, you catch it out. You see it for what it is. I'm like, that's BS. It's in the future. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't read that person's mind. I can take a guess. But if I'm going to guess, and this is the key point, and this is the skill that we have to drill, if I'm going to guess what's in someone's mind, why am I going to choose the guess that's going to freak me out and stop me doing things and cause me stress and upset? If it's a guess, it's made up anyway, I might as well guess a better belief that's actually going to make me feel less stress and more able to take action in the face of that. So all of these little points, just it is a mind, we need to train our minds in the way we train our bodies.
Yeah. And I think one of the things too, somebody pointed out to me when I was, I don't know, in my corporate world, and they said, look, nobody is going to be as interested in you as you are.
Yeah.
And each of us is the captain of our own ships. But how many of us abdicate that captainship?
So true. So true. And, we have to remember there's a big dollop of get over yourself in life. And as soon as you can really enjoy life so much more. People don't give a shit what you're up to. They just don't care because they're so wrapped up in their own world. They don't care. Yet most people are running around thinking everyone cares. Every thing they say, they don't. And when you start to realize that, you can, and to bring it back to the topic of this conversation, none of this would be possible if I was drinking. So all these little mind hacks that I'm talking about, and this resilient, I think, mind that I have now that's allowed me to do all these lovely things and do it with a smile is only possible because I removed alcohol for so many reasons. Not just the fact that alcohol gave me the courage and confidence that if you do something different, you can get different results. And the crowd invariably have it wrong. Great learnings from that experience. My mind's clear all the time. If I was anxious, panic attack, low mood, trying to do the sort of mental gymnastics that I can now do without, even thinking them, i.e. at a subconscious level, it just wouldn't happen. So I owe everything to the clarity of mind that comes from being alcohol free. And I think that's so important for so many people that are tying themselves up in knots with some of this thinking that actually by removing alcohol, it gives you the best platform, I think, to be able to do this work and train your brain in a way that puts you in a friendly universe rather than a hostile one.
1,000%. Okay, I want to switch topics altogether because, you and I have been talking with each other for, 6 months now or something. And you keep talking about this. I'm filming the documentary, or I can't because I'm editing the documentary, or whatever the things were. And then yesterday I saw the trailer for this Going Dry documentary. And Andy, I am so excited to see this now. I can't even stand it. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so this is so cool. And again, one of those things in life that was never meant to be a thing. I mean, it's been said loads of times that I have a great face for radio. And here I am about to make this documentary. And again, I didn't go looking for it. It came looking for me in many ways. John Hyatt was a brilliant director, had made a movie called Screened Out, which was about phone usage in kids, was on to his next documentary, which is all about health and wellness, traveled the world. Peter Attia's of the world, right? Like the real movers and shakers in the health and wellness space. None of them mentioned alcohol. Nuts, right?
It's crazy.
How can you not talk about alcohol? It's like drives me mad. So John got onto my stuff then and went, could you be in the documentary and be the voice around alcohol? Because no one's talking about it. Why is that? And then we were batting it backwards and forth for a while. And then I said to him, John, I think there's a documentary on alcohol on its own. This is such a big topic. No one's done it. And he was like straight back, yep, let me finish this doc and then I'll come back to you. And then he did. And that was a couple of years ago. And we've pretty much been filming it on and off ever since. And it's pretty much done now. So we're in the sort of post-production kind of stuff, editing and whatnot, getting it ready. So ultimately what it is to celebrate all the joys, the wins of going dry with a question mark. It's the name of the documentary. But really it's to track 6 people that were middle lane average drinkers. And then we put them through a 60 to 90 day break. I coached them through this process. And I knew I staked my professional reputation and hoped desperately that they'd get the results that I've been banging on about for the last 10 years. And you'll have to watch the documentary to find out and see if they do. But it was such an interesting project, right? Because I didn't know these people. So I had to coach them. They were middle lane drinkers and with the hope that actually, are they going to get some of the results that I'm talking about? Time, consistency, energy, weight loss, all those wonderful things. We tracked them through the whole process. We filmed them through the whole process. And then the documentary really has that sort of arc through it, but then we're spinning out into all the different researchers and experts, lifting the lid on alcohol and cancer and some big alcohol and all the things that I believe people need to be aware of. And it's got that, you've seen the trailer and you can watch the trailer, anyone listening, at goingdrymovie.com. It's got that Netflix. It's a movie, isn't it? It's not, this wooden documentary. This is a movie.
It's a story.
Really cool. Yeah. And so hopefully in spring 2026, it will be on a screen somewhere. We're still waiting to see where that ends up. Could be on a big streaming service, could be on terrestrial TV, could be on YouTube or a mixture of all those things. We're waiting to see. But whatever happens, it's going to go out and come out into the world. And hopefully, again, that's my mind. If that helps one person, what a win, what an adventure. You know, and my hunch is it could help tens, hundreds, maybe millions of people, which would be a really wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's a great conversation starter. And I think that today's documentaries are so different. They really are, a peek behind what's really going on in a way that feels safer in our own living rooms or in the movie theaters or wherever it is. And it sparks curiosity.
Yeah, and we put the question mark at the end of Going Dry. That was a little tweak, almost that invitation, just to bring people into our world, just to maybe sit there if they're scrolling through and think, maybe I'll have a little look at that. It's obviously very topical. People have seen the rise of alcohol-free drinks, and there's no finger wagging or telling anyone off. That's never been my style anyway. It is a real invitation of, come and have a little look at this. This might be something for you. And, throughout that documentary, my dream is, and we'll have this baked into it, that lots of people will take a 28-day break, for example, on the back of watching that documentary. People that have never done that before, with that right mindset. And hopefully we can inspire, millions of people to take that break and then have that lived experience of what they've just watched on the screen and see, does it work for them? Do they get similar results to those that they've just watched through the documentary? And I think it could be a really wonderful way to bring lots more people into the movement that might not have naturally found it through podcasts or, through social media.
I love that. Okay, I have two last questions. The first is, a lot of the time you've been talking about, I sort of accidentally did this, or I sort of just tried this thing, and yet you've reached this great success. And so to some people looking at you, they might think to themselves, I'll never be like him. I don't even know how to get started. So for somebody who does want to make a difference in this world of alcohol-free or alcohol sober curiosity, what would you say to them to get started doing something?
Yeah, I think it's really simple. If you wind back the clock to where I began, there was no story then, really. I was just an overweight broker guy that had taken a break from alcohol and wanted to try and help one person. And then the story unfolds, doesn't it, over time? So I think that's also important to note, that sometimes you see the end result. You'll see me now, I've been doing this for 12 years. Right. So you forget that bit. It's almost the tip of the iceberg. It always says every overnight success has got 10 years of hard work sitting behind it, but you can't get there unless you begin. And I think it really is just dialing into that mentality of, if something you post or share, let's just say it's out on social media, or you put out a podcast, or wherever you begin, helps one person. And I've said that many, many times tonight. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And I think if you can stay focused on that one person, that helps you get over those limiting beliefs and those obstacles of, what my friend's going to say, what my colleague's going to say, everyone's going to look at me and think. And again, all of those are made up beliefs, by the way, because we're trying to mind read what people are thinking. We've got no idea. And my lived experience of that is, when you actually show up and shine that message, you will get nothing but support and praise. And a lot of the people that you try to mind read that would say something negative are often the biggest fans. So it is that really simple advice of, what are you waiting for? Like, if there's one person that you could help by starting something, what are you waiting for? Just take action and press send, and then you're off.
And come to Amplify Sober Voices Conference,
of course,
because that's where we're all going to be talking about how to grow our voices and our impact. So there's that too.
Exactly.
So the last question I have for you is this. What do you see next or in the future on Andy Ramage path?
Yeah, so once I've done this documentary, I'm basically thinking I might replace Brad Pitt in all his movies going forward. That's the big win. I could be his bum double.
Love it.
Maybe I'll be his bum double. I might get away with that. You never know. He's probably got quite a nice bump as well, isn't he? To be fair, there's probably no need to bring me in for that. But still, no, what would I love to do? The next adventure is this documentary, really. I've sort of got my eyes set on that, and just enjoying life. I feel so grateful that I get to do all these lovely things now, because I followed my passion and my purpose and tried to add some value to people's lives, myself included. And who knows? I don't actually know. Again, a lot of these things just unfold quite organically. There's a couple of things in the pipeline that might come off, but no, I think for now the focus is getting this documentary into the world. That
Mm.
really is something important to me. And once that's done, we'll see what unfolds.
Well, I just want to say I'm so grateful for people like you who've paved the path that we can all walk forward on now. I did get sober 20 years ago, but I didn't ever talk about it. Back then it was a stigma. The shame was real.
Yeah.
But to know that people like you and Shane Raymer and Lisa Smith, all people coming to this conference have paved the way back at a time when people weren't talking about it. I'm just so grateful to you for doing that and being a light, a beacon that we could all kind of follow.
I'm back at you as well, and I'm so pleased to be part of this collective that's coming together in Jan to help us amplify these voices. I think it's such an important thing. So yeah, thank you for all the wonderful work you're doing. It's been a pleasure to join you, and we will reciprocate as well. I'm going to bring some of my equipment when I come over, so hopefully we'll grab some nice interviews then as well.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So, for all of you who have listened, I just want to say this, like Andy's story, it's a reminder that sobriety isn't just about what we walk away from, it's about what we step into. So I'll leave you with this. What did Andy's journey spark in you? What possibilities do you see for your own life when imagine living fully present, fully alive, and fully aligned with your values? Maybe you've been quietly making changes, or maybe you're starting to feel the pull towards something bigger, a life of leadership, of impact, and of advocacy. And if you're ready to explore how your sober voice can inspire others, whether through speaking or writing, podcasting, or simply living as an example, please join us at Amplify Sober Voices this January in Orlando. Your story doesn't have to stay small. It can ripple out further than you ever could imagine. Thank you.